Jen Mitchell, happy Tuesday. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Bricker. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very, very well for a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We should let everybody know that Robin is on assignment this week. When Microsoft calls and says, go do a presentation, you go, right?
That's right.
So Robin will be back with us after the new year, but we are so happy to have Jen with us. Jen, how are things going in Houston? We're winding down 2021 here. How's everything going for you?
Going well. I am ready for a break. I feel like these last few weeks trying to get to the finish line is taking everything out of me to get there. So I am ready for a break. But yeah, going well. I'm in Houston. It is like, typical Houston winter. 80s yesterday, 42 this morning. So, like nice polarizing swings that keep you nice and sick. So I love that, but doing great. How about you? How's it in California?
Exactly the same. Everything you described is exactly the same out here in California. Whether you're working in a school or not, it just seems like December is always so busy. Everybody's trying to pack everything in and get ready for in-laws at the holidays and that sort of thing. And we have our normal California Christmas coming up, 75 degrees and sunny, I'm sure. I was putting up Christmas lights last weekend and 81 degrees sweating. So that felt kind of strange, but no, definitely starting to get that holiday spirit. And just like you, really looking forward to some downtime and shutting off email and social media and all that kind of stuff and enjoying time with family for sure.
Very much, very much.
Well, and as we will celebrate the holidays coming up, let's, as we do, kick off the show with celebrating some great educators. How do you feel about that?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we will kick off this week with our friend Lee Patty from Georgia. We have our fantastic Showcase School and MIEE crew out in Georgia. This one I thought was amazing. We've never really seen anything like this featured on the show, and I was so happy to spotlight it tonight. But if you use Microsoft Excel on any level, you know what a powerful tool it can be, data collection, analysis, all that kind of thing. And this is Lee showing off her using Excel with second graders, which I thought is wonderful. We're talking about, 7, 8, 9-year-olds working with Excel, getting their own data sheet, working on organizing the data and analyzing it. I just thought, what a great use of an awesome tool to really enhance learning and leverage just a great piece of technology. So Lee, thank you so much for sharing this and keep up the great work. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great job, Lee. Love that. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I'll take the next one. This is Miss Corey Freed out in Pennsylvania. This epic moment brings a little bit of jealousy if anybody missed out on the Microsoft's Ugly Sweater competition or their sale. I think she won hers, but that she is a marathon extraordinaire. And so we want to thank her for sharing this great find of the Minesweeper sweater this year. And personally, I don't know about you, I love a good ugly sweater. I actually, I have a whole bin of ugly sweater party stuff because we used to host them all the time, pre-children. And but anyways, I love a good ugly sweater. So great job, Corey. And happy Hanukkah to Corey.
Love that. And to echo that, we've got a bin of 10 or 12 ugly sweaters, even a few with shoulder pads, Jen. So we're going back to the 80s and 90s with those. Love them.
We have, I have to tell this funny story. We have a principal in the district I used to work in that loved sweaters, and she didn't call them ugly. They were just her Christmas sweaters. Yeah. And so those teachers worked with the her husband to get all of them. And then one day everybody showed up in one of her sweaters. And so she was like, oh, I have that sweater. Oh, I have that sweater. Wait a second.
That's awesome.
Love a good joke.
Yeah, love a good prank. All in for that for sure.
Yeah.
And last up this week, this one's wonderful. John Pauls and Holly Lanham working for one of our global training partners, of which we have several, just fantastic ones in the U.S., working with our friends in Gallup, New Mexico to recruit incoming MIEEs. At last count, Jen, we only had one MIEE in all of New Mexico. It may be plus 1 or 2 at this point, but John and Holly are working very hard with some emerging teachers in the Gallup McKinley School District to really inspire them to use Microsoft 365 tools and really re-engage with students and enhance their learning and teaching experience. So just want to say kudos to all the work that they're doing. And we look forward to seeing those applications come through and increasing the population of MIEs in New Mexico, right?
Right. Come on, springtime. Let's bring some more MIEs from New Mexico. Sounds great.
Most definitely. So as always, Keep posting on social media. You can hashtag MIE Expert. You can hashtag the show, US Microsoft EDU Live. We love being able to feature you guys on the show, and we will continue to do that, highlight the epic things we saw over the past couple weeks. So, Jen, without further ado, you're going to duck out for a second, and we'll welcome our guest, and we'll chat with you in a few minutes.
Sounds great. Talk to you later.
Wonderful. So we are super excited this week to welcome Dr. Carol Fletcher to the show. She is the Director of Expanding Pathways in Computing at UT Austin. Austin, one of my favorite cities in the country to visit and tour. We were just talking about it before the show. In her role, she oversees research and PD projects in STEM. And obviously she's here to talk about computer science education as well. She's also a huge advocate for equity and diversity. We'll dive into that for a bit. Dr. Fletcher, thank you so much for joining us tonight and welcome. How are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're doing very well. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here, and certainly a timely conversation to have you around with Computer Science Week. So above and beyond that bio, why don't you quickly give our viewers just a sense of some of the things you're working on, maybe your background, and kind of what led you to where you are today working with computer science at UT Austin?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm a former middle school science teacher, and I began working in teacher PD, professional development for math and science teachers here at UT Austin for probably about 15 years. And then my kids were going into high school, and I wanted them to take a computer science class. And I found out we only had one class at my kids' high school. And I also happened to be a school board member at the time. And so, as many teachers know, what school board members like to do is they want to compare themselves to neighboring districts. So I started looking around to see, well, how do we compare to the other schools in the Austin area? And I found out we were actually doing better than most because at least we had a computer science class. Whereas at the time, less than 25% of schools in Texas offered even a single computer science class. And so I asked two questions. First of all, well, who's preparing new computer science teachers? And then number two, who's training existing computer science teachers? And I found out the answers were no one and nobody.
Yeah, right.
And that's why no one was offering computer science, because there weren't teachers to teach it. And so we had a lot of experience on my team in math and science teacher training. And I thought, well, we could take this model we have for supporting math and science teachers and upskill these amazing teachers that were already in our network and give them the tools they need to teach computer science also. So that was back in about 2014, 2015 when we started doing this work, really started doing the teacher preparation in earnest in 2015. And, with great partners like Microsoft and others, have been able to increase the number of computer science teachers in the state of Texas. I think the last number I saw was like 584 teachers that we have helped to get certified to teach computer science in the state of Texas since 2015, which is more than every university pre-service program in the country combined. So we've had a pretty good model that we've been working on. And then it became so successful, we started having teachers from out of state taking our professional development. So we now have partnerships with folks all over the country in other states besides Texas to help those teachers upskill so that they can become certified in computer science.
That's an amazing data point, more than all the other states combined. That's baffling to me and super impressive, all the work you guys have put into it.
Yeah, it's just, computer science is one of those areas where there's just not anybody there's very few organizations, institutions that have pre-service programs to prepare high school computer science teachers. It's almost non-existent across the country. And so our attitude was, we're not going to try and do the pre-service route. It's hard to get a computer science major to decide, I'm going to go, straight out of college into teaching. The value proposition isn't there when you could make quite a bit more money elsewhere. But our goal is to take, people who've committed to being teachers as a career, who are, lifelong learners, who want to add this new skill set. And, as long as they're willing to learn, we are able to really kind of provide them with that training and upskill them so that they can add this to their portfolio.
That's amazing. So unfortunately for us, not everybody has a UT Austin and a Dr. Carol Fletcher in their backyard, but we hear about computer science and the importance of coding all the time, right? Like I feel like it's everywhere how important it is. So how do we encourage maybe those of us who want to build this in our own community or just raise awareness? How do we encourage both schools to start implementing and integrating computer science into the K-12 curriculum, and also create more of a pipeline for teachers to teach these courses, because you can't ask just anybody on a random Monday to come in and teach that. It's kind of a dual thing, but how do we generate some excitement in our own communities? What have you seen has been successful that could help our viewers out there?
So, one of the things that I found is that, and this is, part of what we communicate to teachers. So I'll talk about how do you get teachers to take on this added responsibility first.
Okay.
One thing that we've seen in education really over the last 10, 15 years is, particularly if you teach subjects like mathematics, there's a lot of people kind of above you in the hierarchy of education telling you what to do all of the time, like literally down to the minute. If you're a math teacher, there's an amazing amount of pressure and an amazing amount of management by other people as to exactly what you should be doing. If you're the computer science teacher, that is not the case. You are the expert. You have so much more autonomy as a classroom teacher if you're the computer science teacher than you do in many other core subjects. And so there's a great kind of feeling of freedom and a renewal of what people love about teaching when they start getting into computer science. And so that's super engaging for folks who are thinking, I've been teaching for a while, I'd like a new challenge, something new and different. And so that sense of autonomy that our computer science teachers have, and the ability to be a leader in their district in a way that sometimes in other subject areas, there's about 8 other people, maybe in your district that are above you in the hierarchy. That's not the case in computer science. There's very few people in K-12 education with that skill set. So that's highly motivating for people. And I think also many of our teachers that come to the work that they come to computer science do it because they're kind of doing what I did. They're looking around and they're saying, no one is bringing these opportunities to the kids in my school. Somebody's got to do it. It'll be me. And they're simply stepping up to the plate because they know they owe it to the kids in their school to give them these kind of opportunities. So I'd say that's, in part some of the motivation from a teacher perspective. From a school district perspective, computing and computer science are the fastest growing, jobs in the world. We're big proponents of broadening participation in computer science, getting more women and more people of color into computer science. And I just see it as truly a ladder to economic mobility. And it's truly, such a core principle. I tell people all the time, if we think about, today's kindergartners will leave schooling, let's say, in about 17 years and leave and walk into the workforce, it'll be a completely different world for them than it is today. And if you doubt that, think about what was the world like for today's college graduates 17 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, literally, there was practically no social media. The iPhone hadn't even been, released yet. So there were no smartphones. Like, Blockbuster had 8,000 stores around the country.
Right.
The world was completely different.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's going to be like for the kids that are in school today. And we just have an obligation to prepare them for their future, not our past. And as educators, that's our obligation, So that's the motivation I think that should be there.
I love that. There's so much to unpack there. The first thing I wanted to mention is about that growth. And I love the idea of looking back 15 years previous to some people that say, well, it's not going to change that much. Your example is just perfect. And it's not just been growth, it's exponential growth. And it's only getting faster because of technology and computer science and all of these things, right? It's only going to increase and the growth is going to be that much more rapid these next 15 than it was the past 15, right?
Absolutely. It's like a civil rights issue to give kids these opportunities, as far as I'm concerned. If you're excluding students from the opportunity to learn computing and computer science, it's really just really a complete and total disservice to the kids. So,
agree. All in for that. And I want to get to those, how you're in particular creating some of those opportunities. There's one other thing I wanted to point out that I thought was really interesting, and that was your mention of creating leadership opportunities for those teachers that go into computer science. And I hear so often from teachers, there's 50, 75, 100 teachers on a staff. There's one principal, right? One AP, maybe two APs. So leadership opportunities aren't always readily available in schools. And I know all teachers don't always think of themselves as leaders, but I think the more we can encourage teachers to think like leaders in their subject area at their grade level, it's just going to drive education forward, especially as it relates to computer science. Have you seen that? Have you seen teachers be more excited about learning and growing because of these opportunities?
Absolutely. Our kind of mantra is, the program I run called We Teach CS, that's our professional development program. Our goal is to educate, inspire, and empower the teachers that we work with so that they can bring these opportunities to every student in their school. And that idea of empowerment, for CS teachers in particular, we're definitely seeing that because they have to step up to the plate. There simply isn't someone else to do it. Not only teaching the course in the classroom, but also just helping their district understand how to grow a program and how to grow a diverse program. There's sometimes a perception among other adults in a school that computer science is this thing that's, only a certain kind of kid. It's reserved for the privileged few. And so we don't say that about reading. Like we wouldn't say, well, only some kids should learn how to read.
Right.
Computer science really is the fourth art, like we've got to, and our teachers have to be the champions for helping the other adults in the system to rethink their perceptions about who should be taking computer science classes, who should be exposed to computer science, etc.
I love that. And I have no doubt anybody who's watching this episode, either live or on demand, is hearing everything you're saying and going, yep, I'm all in. You're going to start getting messages and emails and a lot more folks talking about wanting to do that, because I think you're hitting every nail right on the head. One last point, and that is to the diversity. I know you're doing a lot of work with STEADI, the Computer Education Diversity Initiative. I think applications are closed for this most recent group. Is that right?
Yes, we are in the midst of our cohort 2, which is being actually supported by Microsoft, but we hope to launch a third cohort starting in the late spring. And essentially, what STEADI is when we've been, as I mentioned, we've been working on building up the number of people certified to teach computer science for a long time, and then we actually looked at the data and we found out that we were not really getting a diverse audience of teachers. We were just perpetuating the disparities that already existed in the teaching workforce.
Yeah.
And so we said, we need to rethink what we're doing, and we need to be very purposeful. And we weren't being exclusive, but we were being purposefully inclusive about getting a more diverse range of teachers into our cohort to help them become computer science teachers. And that's what STEADI does. So we have teachers apply to participate. It's kind of a year-long commitment that goes through professional development with our team of supportive PD and amazing PD providers. Much of it is virtual, so people don't have to leave their home. We do bring them to our We Teach CS Summit in the summer, but the rest of it is really done virtually in a hybrid kind of synchronous and asynchronous environment. And so we're really proud of the fact that I believe we've got somewhere around 20 or so folks in the cohort this year, and several of them are well on their way to becoming certified. And, our goal is, we know that one of the best ways to get more diverse students to identify as computer scientists themselves is to give them role models in the classroom with whom they can identify. And so we know that if we can diversify our teaching workforce, then we're far more likely to be able to reach a more diverse range of students who can identify as computer scientists themselves. So we're really proud of that project and the success and we're learning a lot about, how we can, ensure that we're really supporting teachers of color as they go through the hard work of learning these new skills.
Yep, absolutely. And the point you mentioned that most resonates with me is that idea of students seeing themselves in their teachers. I have a close friend, somebody Jen knows as well, who shared a story at one point about the books she was reading growing up and that she never saw herself. And it was such an eye opener for so many of us that were in that setting when she was telling the story that we had never really thought of. And to think about, well, yeah, everybody should see themselves in every situation, in their community, in their friend group. We should all have, see ourselves and have other diverse perspectives to really formulate that full picture of what the world is, because we are a global community and a global economy, more so than ever with technology and how things are working. So I think that perspective of seeing ourselves and others is so key.
Yep. Yeah. And I'd say also, we want to make sure that, every single kid has that kind of experience and opportunity. As I said, not just kids that happen to have a mom or a dad that works in high tech,
Right.
And sometimes as educators, we make some assumptions about what kind of background experiences our kids have. And we need to kind of get out of our own skin sometimes and understand that not everyone has the same background experiences we do. And so we've got to be very purposeful about giving them exposure to some opportunities that maybe they don't necessarily bring to the classroom originally.
And every piece of brain research shows that the earlier you start students, whether it's a language and technology and coding and computer science certainly is a language of sorts, right? If you start students at an earlier age, their background isn't as big a factor because they have a better opportunity to learn that language. I see it in my own son, who's almost 7 in first grade, and the way he's picked up technology and Minecraft, and I'm going to start introducing him to coding. I mean, Dr. Fletcher, it's amazing to watch, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting also is so often we think of coding and computer science. Well, that's something the kids that are good at math do that thing.
Exactly.
Well, our philosophy is we need to stop using math as a gatekeeper to computer science and use computer science and coding as an on-ramp to self-efficacy and success in math. When kids are seeing the reason why they need to understand a linear function is because when they design a video game to move their little sprite from here to here, they have to know linear functions. When they get that, then they're motivated to learn math. My math friends don't like this, but I call it the cheese on the broccoli of mathematics. Like this, we can use computing to help kids do that. Kids love technology. And so stop using math as the way to say, well, those kids can't take it, and use computing and coding and all of those technology tools as a ways to engage kids in learning those core subjects that as educators we're held accountable for.
As a 20+ year high school math teacher, I 100% agree with that because I love application, and being able to tell me that the slope of a line is 2 by looking at an equation means nothing to me, but explaining to me what that means in a real setting means so much more. And when you can apply it, like you say, and so beautifully said about CS being the on-ramp, I love that. And I think it's a great mantra and way of looking at things. So different, we're flipping the script on how education has been for so long, but so important to change that perspective as we move forward.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift, but it's one that it's honestly long overdue. It's
Agreed.
Just long overdue.
Agreed.
And the challenge is there's such high stakes sometimes in mathematics education. Even if we aren't doing a very good job, we're so risk averse to change what we do. But the reality is, I think there's few people that can say, yeah, we're great in this country at getting all kids successful at Algebra 1. So maybe we should rethink how we have been approaching math proficiency for the last 50 to 100 years.
Right. Or longer.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
This is wonderful stuff. This is such great information. To anybody who's watching, I'll put Dr. Fletcher's Twitter handle up on the screen. Please follow her, engage with her. As always, we have links to a bunch of resources in our Wakelet. So please follow Robin and I and the show and Flopsy for all that information. Links to her website, the program she mentioned, both Epic and the SETI site, and definitely engage with her and learn from her. This is so wonderful, and we appreciate your time. But before we let you go, would you be up for a quick round that we call lightning round? 5 fun questions right at the end here.
Sure.
We didn't mention this to you before, so I'm springing it to you right in the end. But there's no grade here, Dr. Fletcher. This is all for fun.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite holiday tradition?
Oh wow. We have hosted an ugly sweater party for many years. Haven't done it due to the pandemic, but that's probably our favorite holiday tradition.
Love it. Nothing like a good Christmas party, but especially an ugly sweater party. Love that.
Yeah.
If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you want to be?
Wow. I'd say Hawaii is pretty high up there. I don't know if right now they're experiencing some flooding, but Hawaii in general is a great place to be.
Yeah. Hawaii when it's 81 and no storms coming through. Yeah, sandy beach. I gotcha.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Any new hobbies or activities that you picked up during the pandemic?
Well, many years ago, before children and work, my husband and I used to play tennis a lot, and then we kind of stopped. And then during the pandemic, because schools were closed, we could actually go up to the high school during the day and play tennis. So we've started playing a lot more tennis, and it's been great.
Love it.
Yep.
Good activity with the spouse and a little exercise. I love that.
Yeah, and it's like social distancing. You could social distance and play tennis. That you're outside. All of those benefits. So that's been a lot of fun.
But then you got to go back home with your husband, and that's not social distancing. Now you're back in the same house. That's a whole different conversation now.
Yeah, well, we did have to. It took only 1 week to move from the joint office to 2 different offices in our house.
The joys of work in 2020 and 2021, right?
Yeah. The sharing of the office didn't work after 1 week.
Right. So, not sure if you had time for this, but what was the last TV series or that you binge watched on Netflix or Hulu or one of those?
I am actually right now watching The Crown.
Ooh, so nice. How is it?
I'm kind of late on that, but it's been great. I just finished the first season, and I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And we will get you out of here on this one. Who inspires you the most in your life right now?
Who inspires me the most? Wow. I'd have to say I'm inspired by all of the teachers that we've worked with. The fact that these teachers who are already juggling so much are willing to take on all of this extra hard work of learning and to do a whole new subject area, and we have teachers that are sticking with this even during the pandemic. It amazes me, and it just shows the dedication that they have to their students. So I'm really incredibly inspired by them every day. We're so lucky to have, it's a family, so we're very fortunate.
Yep, I love that. And to teachers everywhere, this is exactly why Robin and I wanted to create this show, to celebrate teachers and all the great work that they're doing. And certainly over the last 2 years and with programs like yours, we see that each and every day. So Dr. Fletcher, thank you sincerely for joining us. Amazing information. I hope we can do this again, but until then, please stay in touch, and we will definitely chat with you soon.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey,
Jen, what'd you think? Pretty amazing stuff she's doing out there at UT Austin, right?
Yes. What's sticking with me so much just in listening to her is, of course, their mission is to empower teachers, but I just keep thinking, you and I out of the classroom now, you were in a school recently in the last year or so, but, I'm just so grateful for teachers because I can't even imagine teaching in today's environment and what's happening. And so she used that word empower. And I just kept thinking about how, as a teacher, being dictated what I had to do, exactly what she said, being dictated to what I had to teach, but then she's giving teachers the opportunity and the advantage and to change what they're teaching, become passionate about something new, but really be able to, because of the subject area that it is right now, they have full power and authority and autonomy to make that be what they love and what they want to teach and the direction they want to go. Like the project could be in there. That just really, I just wonder, will that help? Can that process help teachers that are struggling in the day-to-day classroom? Well, we still need our classroom teachers. We need more. Please come be a classroom teacher. Yes. I'm just saying, can it give teachers a break a little bit? We have amazing teachers, and sadly, we see the statistics, they're leaving. And, if they had a little bit more autonomy, would they stay? I don't know. That's just what
It's a great question. It's a great question. And I think closely connected to that is that idea of Dr. Fletcher saying that computer science is the on-ramp, right? Like if we can get computer science and other more applicable day-to-day skills and activities integrated into the K-12 curriculum, so students see the real-world application of math and science and history and English and all these things. I mean, that's a school I want to go to. I just imagine being so much more engaged and excited about learning.
And you just think of, are the teachers excited because clearly they're getting some flexibility in what they're teaching because they're being able to do it in a more creative way, right? And so I just love that teachers are getting empowered to do that all across Texas and other states. And so I'm just very excited to hear that that's happening. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we want to close out this week, as we often do, with some great resources, and certainly during Computer Science and Education Week and Hour of Code and everything, we had just 5 quick links and resources to share with you. Of course, these will be in our wakelet that we'll send out on social media. But Jen, I know you're going to kick us off this week.
I am. The first place you definitely want to start, if you haven't been there yet, is hourofcode.com. It is a great place to find activities to do with your students. They have activities by grade level, topic, subject, all different types of things, characters, right? They have all different kind of things. And they have videos to help teachers and students to excel this week. Tutorials, handouts, everything you need to spread the word in your community with your parents to get excited about what your students are doing in class. If you haven't yet, check it out. That's where I always started as a teacher, was hourofcode.com. Yep.
Oh, great site. And a close partner to that is code.org, which is the background, of course, behind me tonight. Another very popular website, which we have featured on this show in the past, including last year during Computer Science Week. But their overall website is improved. You can go to code.org/hour of code for all the resources for this week. Again, another great set of activities, especially for students this week. And you'll also see a variety of projects as well that can be used both this week. We're only on Tuesday. There's still 3 more days. You have more than enough time to throw these things together. A lot of these projects are ready made for you to put into the classroom. And certainly a great list at code.org of those projects as well. And certainly all of these things shed a great light on all of the things that Dr. Fletcher talked about with us tonight as well.
Yes. And of course, one of our favorites here is Minecraft. Right now they have an Hour of Code activity called Timecraft, and it is pure genius as students and teachers learn the basics of coding to correct mysterious mishaps throughout history. This is a fun way going back in time to save the future, and it absolutely reminds me of Marty McFly, Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. So definitely wanted to check it out, built right into Minecraft Education Edition.
And I mentioned to Jen before the show, I may have spent 45 minutes or so playing around with it today, and I'm definitely looking forward to introducing it to my son Carter later. He's going to love it as well. It's definitely for all ages. It can be from first graders on up. You've got choice between block coding and Python coding, so it really can fit all ages. Love this activity. Next up is another one of our favorites. This is, if you haven't played with Microsoft MakeCode, it's really fun. Think of like 80s arcade games in a web version. that are like customizable. You can build your own. You can interact with existing games. Really, really cool. And of course, they've featured a bunch of very unique games and activities for this week as well. If you go to aka.ms/save the forest, you'll find this year's activity, which also includes an educator guide, which we always love, instructions and tips about how to run the activity that'll help make it a huge success in your campus or in your classroom or across your school campus. So maybe the best thing, as I mentioned, is just the web-based portion of it. There's nothing to install, nothing to download, all web-based, very easy to access on the fly.
Love Make Code. All right. And our last one is csedweek.org. It's a site dedicated to this call to action to inspire K-12 students to learn computer science and much, much more. This great website has information on how to teach, inspire, advocate, involve, and celebrate all things computer science and education. And they even have a link to a couple of events happening tomorrow and Thursday. So you'll want to check those out for sure. But once again, csedweek.org. And of course, everything else will be in our Wakelet that we have for you. Here's the link to that. And I also will say, just thought of it right now as we're talking, you check out the Microsoft stores. We'll add the link to the Wakelet. They have a bunch of events going on this week too.
Yep, as well. I think the Microsoft Education blog is in there as well, but we'll find some others and include them as well. There'll be a bunch of links this week to all the great resources for activities during Computer Science Week. So as always, well, I'll show the link in a second, but we will be back. No more shows in December. We will be back in January. I think it's January 11th will be our next show, our first show of 2022. So we obviously wish everybody happy holidays, happy and safe New Year, and all that good stuff. And in the meantime, throughout the rest of December, you can always catch all of our past episodes on demand. The link is there, aka.ms/US Microsoft EDU Live. Continue to reach out to us, Robin, myself, Jen. Let us know what you're looking for on the show, guests we might want to have on, any ideas. We'd love to hear from our community and just to continue to improve this show as we head into 2022. Mrs. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You bet.
All right, well, happy holidays to your family.
Most definitely. Hope you have some great things planned with the boys, and definitely enjoy some downtime. And we will certainly see you as the calendar turns to 2022.
Sounds great. See you later, friends.
All right. Thanks, friend. Have a great night.
You too.